Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rev House. The championship is over. That is it. 2025 has come to a close, and Lando Norris has managed to make it work. He finished third in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix and becomes world champion, with Max Verstappen finishing first and Oscar Piastri second. This is just a quick rant at the end of the race to sort of discuss our instant sort of thoughts, reactions to the race. And yeah, Jason, do you have any thoughts and reactions to that race? Pretty good race, I thought, all in.
For being an Abu Dhabi race, I thought it was actually quite good.
Yes.
I mean, you got the normal slow section in the middle of the race, which we always get, but I mean, all in all, it wasn't too bad for there being no safety car. I thought it wasn't a bad race, all in all. Outcome of the championship, I can't say I'm too happy in particular. I mean, I was backing Oscar Piastri for the entire season, so it's sad to see him lose it at the final hurdle. I know we had Max catching up at the end there very, very closely, and it really could have been anybody's game this week, but with such a clean race and no safety car, it came down to Norris taking that third position at the end of the day. That's all he needed.
Yeah, and in all fairness, Oscar got him on lap one, but he really did just do everything he had to get to secure that championship. You know, you can't really fault the race at all. You know, the team were on it with a strategy. Oscar was doing as much as he could to get that win. Wasn't able to get it in the end. Max's pace was electric.
Incredible all race, all weekend.
Absolutely phenomenal. And Lando just done what he absolutely had to do. I believe his race engineer Will Joseph was actually telling him just after qualifying that he just had to do what he had to do. You know, just don't do anything crazy. Just finish the race, and that's kind of what he done from the start. Yes, he was probably a bit placid with Oscar getting past, but then again, he didn't even need to really worry about that.
No.
So fair play. He done what he had to do, and it's been a pretty good season. It's been a little bit strange, I feel. The first half of the season was definitely a little bit boring. That last half was classic Formula One drama.
Yeah, definitely. Once we got back from the summer break, it really felt like everything was ramping up, and you seen it. You seen the pressure starting to come on to every driver, and yeah, it was really, really good. I enjoyed it. But now that we've got to the end of the season and the champion's been decided,
it's 2 points in it as well.
2 points,
the gap from last weekend with Antonelli, that was what it was. But then again, that wouldn't even have mattered with the count back.
You were saying for count back, Lando
was going to win it.
He was going to have it anyway.
There was definitely an air, at least for me, there was an air of inevitability since Baku, since Oscar's fall off with that performance. So
yeah, with the circumstances that Lando had to be in to win the championship, it was too great. And his side of the garage this week, the damage limitation was on point. It's the most consistent we've seen them with pit stops.
Exactly. Yeah,
all season. I personally think so. McLaren really didn't fold under pressure this week. They had their head held high, and they ultimately secured the championship for one of their drivers. So it's nice to see. You know, they were the quickest team all year. They were projected to win both championships. So it's nice to see them win both championships, whether it's not the driver you particularly wanted to see win it. But yeah, that's just my initial.
I will say after the race, she did look a little bit.
I was a little bit
disheveled.
The initial reaction to the championship, I took it a little bit hard. You know, I was backing Oscar Piastri all season, like you were saying. You didn't really have a horse in this race up until sort of midpoint, and Max Verstappen started to come back. So you had him in your corner, and I was just going for Oscar all year. And to see that performance slip after the summer break in Zandvoort and Baku and all the mistakes he made going through Brazil, you know, if he won the championship again, would it felt like deserved?
It's hard to say. See, I think I was saying this during the race, like, you know, using the word deserved in sport is difficult.
Yeah.
Lando did everything he had to do over the course of the year to win it, and ultimately, at the end, he did win it. I still maintain a deserving champion, yet an unconvincing one. We saw, now that can go for both McLaren drivers. You know, Max all year, even though the car hasn't been there, he has been absolutely metronomic. He has been on it every single weekend. There's been a few slip-ups here and there, but like his consistency has been phenomenal. The McLaren drivers leaves a little bit more to be desired. You had the fiasco in Austin with the sprint race. You had Oscar crashing out in Baku. You had Lando crashing into the back of Oscar in Canada. You had Oscar going off and Lando going off in Australia. So like the errors from the McLaren drivers, definitely more. But at the end of the day, they had the fastest car. They had the most points. And the guy at the end of the season with the most points won it. And it was Lando Norris. And I can't say anything more than that he done everything he had to do over the course of the season to win it. The last third of the season that he had was incredible.
Yeah, you rule out the Las Vegas disqualification and you look at his results and he's really turned a leaf, you know. His performance was incredible once he came back, and it was and he done everything he had to do towards the end of the season, and he got the championship in the end with 2 points in it, like.
Yeah, and he drove a very, very, very measured race.
Very good race. Like I was going to say, it was all about damage limitation this weekend, and they secured the result that they needed. You know what I mean? It wasn't about going for a win. It wasn't about being super aggressive off the start and trying to hold that lead. It was about getting the points that you needed to secure that championship. And at the end of the day, that's what they did.
Yeah. The race, obviously, with Piastri getting into second and watching Lando driving in that race, you know, it looked like a team that knew the pace of their car. Obviously, Charles had an absolutely incredible first stint. You know, he was on the back of Norris the first 15, 16, 17 laps.
Yeah, the pressure from Ferrari was insane
incredible
at the start of the race.
But I think, again, it was just McLaren knew they had the pace advantage. Yes, the Ferrari looked dangerous, but they knew what that car was capable of. And I don't think they were that flustered by it. I don't think Lando was that flustered by it. So, like, everything he done in that race was incredible. Obviously, the weekend looked a little bit shaky from the start.
Yeah.
But he slowly clawed it back, and he obviously qualified second, but then he got jumped by Piastri. So it's just kind of, he's done everything he's had to do, and, you know, fair play to him, I suppose, at the end with that.
Yeah, fair play to Lando Norris.
And we just go into 2026 now.
Yeah, with our heads held high, and hopefully expect something good from Ferrari, and hopefully a competitive grid next year. Although there is one thing I want to bring up, the Yuki and Lando drama.
The Yuki and Lando drama, yes. Now, I'm not terribly convinced what Yuki done was that bad. Yes, he was weaving, and yes, there's the whole thing in Formula 1 where you can't move more than once. Now, Lando wasn't alongside him. He saw Yuki weaving. He could have gone to the other side. Now, whether or not Yuki would have followed him is another question, but I think the penalty, maybe a little bit harsh. At the end, it was only 5 seconds. It wasn't, you know, a race crippling penalty.
No, no.
But then again, I suppose with consistency over, you know, with stuff that we've seen in F1 in the past, maybe it was apt at the time, thinking on it now from whenever it happened. In the heat of the moment, whenever you really want the Oscar to win or you want it Max to win it, yes, it was probably easy to be slightly blinded, but oh no, they've absolutely done Yuki with that one. Lando should hand that back. Mm-hmm. But I think with what we've seen in F1 before, maybe the penalty was definitely warranted. So, Lando was definitely committed to going on that side. And if he did continue going on that side and didn't go off the track, he probably would have drove into the back of him. So I guess the penalty, yes, is probably warranted. In the heat of the moment, it was definitely frustrating to watch. But yeah, I don't think it was ever going to have a big impact on the championship. Even if Lando wasn't able to get past him on that straight, he was definitely going to get past him in the next straight or the next lap.
No, but in terms of consequences of the penalties, the fact that Yuki got one and Lando didn't, whenever they were both involved in that incident, yes, Yuki moved whenever he was going down the straight, and you could say that he was unpredictable. But Lando went off the track, so he did during the overtake. He had that whole right side of the track to use that wasn't used during that section, and it's just, I didn't understand why Yuki got a penalty and why Lando didn't get a penalty whenever you watch the footage. And yes, Yuki might have did the incident that caused him to do that, but Lando didn't have to overtake him at that point. You know what I mean? He was going to get him at some point during the race. It didn't have to be at that exact moment. If a driver's doing something like that, you should have that instinct to let me hold back. and wait until there's a safer opportunity rather than forcing yourself down the inside and then leaving yourself open to be off the track and have that level of speculation and to cause that. I just didn't understand why Yuki, it was obvious what he did was a penalty, but then Lando, it was on camera as well, and what he did was a penalty, but then he didn't get one.
Yeah, I suppose my only rebuttal to that is like whenever you're reviewing like a racing incident or something that happens during the race, you're not reviewing what could have happened. You're reviewing what did happen, and kind of what did happen was Yuki was waving and of what we've seen in Formula One. So yes, frustrating. Ultimately, I don't think it had any bearing on what was going to happen.
No, because at the end of the day, Lando Norris finished 5 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc. So even if he got a 5-second penalty,
he was never going.
He was still going to finish third. And
watching the race, definitely frustrating. In hindsight, completely inconsequential and probably the right call from the stewards. But that's the Yuki Lando, the Yuki and Lando drama. But yeah. Lando Norris is the 2025 Formula One World Champion. We will be back tomorrow with the race review. We'll be going through every team, analysing and dissecting everything that went on during the race weekend. But we just wanted to give you a little bit of insight and instant reaction to the race with Lando winning the championship. And we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.